guess we've got some new folks and new roles, so thank you, Kathy, for being vice chair, and Liz for being secretary.
Thank you for trusting us in those roles.
I mean, I think all three of us were kind of volunteers, so we'll do the best we can. I guess we'll go ahead and start with introductions in case there's some new faces and stuff. So Josh Gooden with Rockingham County.
I'm Liz Palmer with Almar County.
Tracy Stapley with Shenandoah National Park.
Gary Curry, County Administrator in Rappahannock County.
Emily Harris, community member, Rappahannock County.
Bill Henry, community member, Greene County.
Kathy Stafford, Greene County.
John Mahoney from the park.
Eric Yount from Shenandoah National Park.
Jim Ballard from
Joe Buchanan, Board of Supervisors, Madison County.
and I'm Bruce Bowman.
Bill Nightfield with Community Development for Rockingham County.
This is, okay.
And I'm John, also from Albemarle. I missed the last one, sorry.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move into, were there any other additions to the agenda?
Is there a way we can see all the people?
Yes.
The question is whether I'm the right one to make that happen, but I will try. And also, if, you guys wanna, are you happy sitting there, or do you wanna come closer, or,
We'll squeeze you in.
yeah, or, you know?
We'll just judge you for
Go for
Okay.
Bruce likes not having a front row seat.
I like having a front row seat.
You like not having a front row
Oh, yeah, I
seat
like
now.
it.
There's a chairman seat up there.
Right. So I guess if there's no additions or changes to the agenda, I guess we'll go ahead and move.
Look up in the top where it says view. and
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what
you
it
just
was.
click that. Multi-speaker maybe.
Don't look at us when we use Teams.
Oh, yeah, I had such trouble with that the other day.
We got a good deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know,
I'm good at pressing buttons.
that sounds like it, yeah.
So I did gallery, which normally lets you see everybody, but this doesn't work that way. Are other options? Yes, I was doing this. You can do speaker. Go back to it.
Oh, while they're working on that, I guess let's go ahead
I
and
think
move
that's
to
it.
the
Just.
minutes from the May 15th meeting. I think there was just one tweet.
It's not that important.
Thornton Gap was spelled wrong in one of the spots. Want to make sure that one gets.
My fault.
That's how I learned how to spell it properly.
Were there any other
So how do you
corrections?
spell it?
Thornton.
It's a thorn. in
Oh,
your-
oh,
Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry,
there you go.
sorry.
Was there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Liz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. Any other corrections? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion's approved, and we'll go ahead and move into our program for fall traffic management. Turn things over to Eric.
Great. Good evening, everyone, again. My name is Eric Yount. I'm the acting chief ranger for Shenandoah National Park. I've been at Shenandoah for about 12 years now. I came in 2013. So as I've lived at, in your communities, I haven't really known much about this committee, the Blue Ridge Committee, until recently. But I think it's really beneficial to the park and such a collaboration amongst us, because almost all the staff in Shenandoah reside in your communities. So there is a true partnership. So thank you for having me here to talk about some fall operations. I am the chief ranger that is predominantly law enforcement and emergency services. So I also want to take a quick moment just to thank you as community, as representatives for your communities. We receive a lot of local support from your EMS and sheriff's departments and police departments. So as you're talking to your EMS personnel, to your sheriff's office, please thank them because we do rely on them, and they are extremely helpful to us. So thank you very much. So fall ops. We're coming into that time of year where we see a huge increase in visitation for the park. And actually, just today we had our fall operations meeting within the park where all the divisions send representatives and talk about potential issues or concerns that they might have at a park level to manage our influx of visitation to the park. It truly is kind of a north to south concern for the park and for your communities. Most of the visitation comes in Warren County at Front Royal Entrance Station, and then as you go south, visitation kind of decreases as far as the amount of visitors that come into each entrance station. Over the past couple years, our peak weekends have fallen towards the end of October. Sometime around October 20th, almost all the way to the 1st of November. And those peak weekends will see upwards of around 7,000 vehicles at Front Royal. Now roughly around 7,000 vehicles at Thornton Gap. And then the numbers decrease as you get to Swift Run and down to Rockfish. So Swift Run sees, around 3,500 vehicles. Rockfish, 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles. So it's a huge influx of vehicles into your local communities that could be affecting your traffic flow and then affecting operations within the park. Some of the things that we currently do to try and mitigate that is we reach out to our local communities. Over the past couple of years, I've worked really closely with Warren County, the Sheriff's Department, and Front Royal Police Department to kind of mitigate some of the issues in Front Royal, as that's where most of the traffic comes in. As we've worked through some of those issues, it has pushed some of the traffic further south down to Thornton Gap, and it's affecting Highway 211, so Page County and Rappahannock County. So we're starting to see some issues on 211. We're trying to do, it's all traffic control related, trying to get these massive amounts of people, vehicles into the park, but the infrastructure, the road systems are limiting how quickly we can manage those vehicles. We do a lot of social media in the beginning, trying to get people to buy passes online. And I think this was mentioned at the last meeting that you had, that the park was going cashless. We did that predominantly. All our entrance stations are cashless. So that will help speed up the process as people are coming in. We've also reached out to some of your local community members as vendors, as a third-party vendor to purchase passes. So visitors can purchase passes at some of your local establishments.
Has that been successful that you've made?
Yeah, I think the program's,
Yes.
the transition to cashless has been pretty seamless.
Yep.
Excuse me, had a little bit of pushback, but not considerable amount. We've had quite a few vendors step up to buy the hard passes, but then also recently, system-wide for all land management agencies, the passes are going to be switching over to all digital passes over the next few years. So they're just implementing it a little bit at a time. There's a couple that are starting in October. Right now, you can buy the digital pass and the hard pass and link them together if you want both, or you can just have one or the other. But you can buy the digital pass anywhere and you just present it when you come in. So that'll hopefully help speed things up as well.
When you say vendors, are you talking about commercial vendors, or are you talking
Yes.
about like our
Yes.
visitor centers?
Well, that and
Because I was told
outfitters or
Yeah.
whoever.
we could only take cash, like we could only sell the passes for cash or something. It was only for the cash customers that we could sell them.
I am not aware of that requirement. I think as a third-party vendor, you can sell the pass in any way that you want, but I would have to double
Okay,
check.
cause that's what I had thought, but
Yeah.
they were like, no, you have to pay cash for them if you're gonna buy them through us.
No, I'll double check and get back to you, but.
It might have
Yeah.
something to do with us having to charge the convenience fee
Maybe.
for it.
Yeah. I'll double
Okay.
check for you.
Okay.
May have been some miscommunication too, because the idea would be sending people who only had cash
Right.
to those vendors, because they could, if they were just gonna use a credit card, they could do that at the park.
Right, but if it was
So-
somebody who was at the visitor center,
Oh,
who
and
was
just
planning to
wanted-
pay
yeah,
credit card, that we weren't supposed to we weren't supposed to offer to sell it to them, we were supposed to send them up to the park. So anyway, I'm just
Yeah.
curious about that, cause I was like, okay, that seems like an unnecessary
Yeah.
step, but.
Yeah, it might have been some miscommunication and different goals at the time, so,
Okay.
but I'll clarify.
Okay, thanks.
Did you say that eventually you plan to be only digital passes? Did I hear that correctly?
No, that's
I
not the
did
plan
not hear
now,
that.
no.
Okay.
I think, well, as of right now.
Yes, as of right now.
This is all, so it's not just National Park Service, it's all land management agencies that have these passes. American Beautiful Pass, they can get you into like a BLM lands, other lands. Right now, they're implementing a couple of digital passes in October, and then they'll transition, there's like 6 or 7 different types of passes, depending on who you qualify for, like the lifetime pass, all of that. So eventually, they'll transition all those to a digital form, but they'll still offer, for now, that you can buy a hard copy if you want, a regular, like, credit card kind of pass. Or if you buy one, you can link them together, so they're the same account, basically, just 2 different versions of that. Who knows, they may eventually phase all of those hard copy passes out, but right now, there's been notification of that. So,
Eventually it'll be her implants.
right.
Correct.
It'll,
You have to wait for a lot of people to die.
So besides cashless to try and speed some things up, some of the other things that we do to help mitigate some of the issues, our staff, they do other duties as assigned. So if a normal maintenance, they might come and help with traffic control. We have volunteers who help out in the park, both with traffic control and providing information. We have volunteers who are EMS providers who help with search and rescue. Of course, there's infrastructure kinds of things, like, we have to provide additional porta-johns and, all that kind of stuff to manage the massive amounts of people and vehicles coming into the park. As I said, historically, it's a north to south issue. Most people come in Front Royal. Over the years, we've tried to mitigate that a little bit by social media, asking people to go south and drive north instead of north to south. And then kind of long-term, earlier this year, we were part of a road audit survey. It's a federal contractor came in, VDOT, a couple other agencies were involved to look at traffic flow from an infrastructure perspective, looking at the roads, looking at our entrance stations, particularly Front Royal and Thornton Gap, and how those lanes manage and intersect. And the kind of the draft report just came out, so hopefully the park will get a final report and maybe use that with VDOT to potentially redesign some of the intersections leading into the park. For the park, our 2 main entrance stations, Front Royal and Thornton Gap, are going through some redesign processes themselves. But that's long term. That's nothing immediately that could help us like this fall season.
but those are projects on the books though.
Yes. Yep. They're particularly Front Royal is kind of the initial one, and they're in the design. I'm not sure what stage they are at, but in the design process. Those are some of the things we do for our peak visitation during the fall season. Again, it's kind of towards the end of the October month, at least the past couple of years, the 4 or 5 years. Are there any questions? Yes,
mentioned, 7,000 vehicles would enter the park at Front Royal. Is that per busy day?
We have counters at the entrance station, and, that's over the 2-day period.
Okay, over a weekend,
Yes.
a peak weekend, so.
Yep.
So when you have beautiful weather intersecting the perfect weekend for leaves, it becomes interesting.
Yes. And it is a different type of, visitation than, say, like a holiday weekend, Memorial Day or Labor Day. That's a lot more recreation. People are coming in to camp, they're really coming in to hike. This really is a sight season. People are coming in to go on the drive from their vehicle, see the leaves, see the sunset, and then maybe do a very short hike. But it is a very different clientele compared to some of our other busier weekends. Yeah.
Over about 50 years of working with the park, your backcountry rangers had the greatest impact on those of us right around working with the park. What's the latest on the backcountry ranger program?
We have a small backcountry ranger program, that's part of our natural and, cultural resources division. And they get out into the backcountry as much as they can. So we have the backcountry ranger program and then the trails, crew who go out and maintain the trails. So, two different groups that, have different, duties.
How many people do you have in the backcountry ranger program?
I couldn't say for sure. We have a handful, maybe 5 total.
Those are
somewhere in there.
interpretive ring, they're
No, they're
law enforcement or?
No, they're not law enforcement rangers. They're more scientific,
Right,
I would
right.
say. So we have a backcountry program manager who's mostly in office, and then a couple field rangers.
Now, that was my question, is the law enforcement type backcountry rangers.
Law enforcement.
Those are the guys who've had the greatest impact,
Yes, sir.
help us clean up problems around the park. They've been terrific, and best I can tell, I don't see them anymore. What's the status of law enforcement backcountry?
So our staff has gone down a little bit over the past couple of years, but we are in the process of reestablishing or filling some vacancies. So once we are able to fill those vacancies, which it's kind of systemic in the National Park Service, having lower ranger staff altogether. Once we're able to fill some of those positions, you'll probably see more in the backcountry.
Right.
Right now, unfortunately, we're responding to calls for service, and we don't have a lot of time to proactively patrol the
I
back.
can just assure you that the backcountry rangers dealing in law enforcement have a very good impact. They help
Yes.
keep a lot of problems down
Yes.
around the park and help us out to live around there, keep the bad guys out.
They
They're very valuable.
they
in
do
ways
get out
that
there as much as
sometimes
they can.
We see it more than you do, really.
Yes. And please, as a community member, as a partner with the park, if you see something, if you notice something, if you report it to us, that is a call for service, and we are more apt and more able to respond.
Thank you.
You got a wonderful report a year ago, or maybe a little bit, a year and a half ago, on the trout situation. Has there been any update on that research as far as the numbers and what's knocking them off?
That's outside of my field.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I can certainly ask and find out for you.
Thank you.
I don't think there's been any update on the actual research, from my understanding, but, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask.
So with regard to traffic, when is the peak season? You said typically it's October 20th to whatever, a few weeks after that. But isn't it gonna be a little bit earlier this year? Or, I think I saw something come across my news feed about it because the weather's been a little cooler earlier.
Yeah, we never really know. You know, you have the predictors, the forecasters out there, and we try and loosely base some of our operations off of that, but it really is just, you know, observations. And when you see the leaves change, is when the people will come.
So if for some reason there isn't a resolution to the budget situation by Wednesday, what happens then?
That's a good question.
So we don't know what happens then. So we have no information on potential lapse in appropriations currently from the department or the agency. The Department of Interior has a plan in place that was from the last administration. They're currently working on updating that plan, potential shutdown plan for all the agencies. Hopefully they'll have that in place if a lapse does occur by Wednesday. At that point, the Park Service will base our response off of that departmental plan. So we have no direction currently on whether we will remain open or close the gates. It's just an unknown, so.
Could it be that the gates are open but the facilities are closed? Like it could be any kind of.
There are all kinds of options, you know, in previous shutdowns, we've had different scenarios at other parks I worked at where the concession operation has paid to keep the park open to some degree, not all employees, but to some degree. States have chipped in for some larger parks. I don't know if that happened here before or not. Other parks have shut down completely. It just depends on the administration's approach and how they want to handle things.
I just wonder, because the traffic, with no one to manage the traffic, and the gates are up, but the, you know, like, so.
It will be a disaster if we don't have staff to mitigate it, but again, we don't know what we're being directed to.
Like
yet.
at our
We will not know
entrance
that
right
until October first.
Yeah.
Yes, I did do that entrance not too long ago.
Yeah.
Stick shift worked on.
We have every hope that the Congress will fund us for October first. And we are standard operations until we hear otherwise.
All right.
Greater hopes by the third weekend in October.
And then do you have the contact of our sheriff for any backup that you need? I had asked him when I saw the email earlier this week, actually, I guess that Josh sent out, or somebody, I don't remember who sent it, but just that if there was any, looking for collaboration with any local resources. Our sheriff didn't remember that we had ever participated before, but he was definitely willing to talk about it, so.
And I'm sorry, which county are you?
Greene County?
Greene. Yes, we have contact information for your sheriff in
Great.
Greene County. And we do reach out to all the counties, not only for incidents, but you know, to build partnerships and MOUs, memorandums of understanding, so that there's that, you know, more legal structure between our two agencies.
Okay, great.
One of the things we've talked about is using restricted transient occupancy tax revenue to help fund extra law enforcement shifts at entrances.
That's a great idea.
Very good idea.
Well, you're on, aren't you on the tourism?
I would vote for that.
Okay, well, we got one vote for it.
I guess, Tracy, is there any updates with the Delaware North contract extension?
Yeah, I will turn that over. So John is our concession specialist at the park, so he can fill us in on where we are with all that. He's also, just so you know, there's been a new secretarial order that came out recently, the focus of it was for parks to engage more with their local communities, especially for parks who haven't really been doing that. I think here pretty consistently we've been engaging with communities, but we've been asked to designate a coordinator, and John has stepped into that role, so he's our gateway community coordinator, to make sure we're doing what we have been doing all along, I think, here. So yeah, he'll be kind of our liaison for this program, but he also is a great asset to us running our concessions operations here, so I'll turn it over to him.
And that program and the concessions program is very interchangeable because one of the big drivers with that program, like the secretarial order, has, you know, tourism and people come into the community, but they also leave the park and they go back into the community on the way out. So there's definitely a desire for to build off one another. Now to answer your question about the concession contract, so as you may recall, there was a press release late spring summer that we had to cancel the solicitation. There was a number of executive orders that forced a secondary legal review on our behalf. And those orders materially changed the value of the contract. So we had to recall it. We re-advertised. It closed 2 weeks ago. We were actually paneling it this week with a team of folks from all over the country, off-site. Park's not part of that selection process. They voted today for a determination. Now it works its way through the process.
That process if the park is not?
So there are concession specialists from other parks and other regions, there were folks in the Pacific West region, folks from DC, folks from Philadelphia, folks from Washington office. It allows neutrality on it, because Delaware North's been on us now for 13 years. It allows the group to look at everything basically with, wide eyes, whereas we may be looking at it through a blinder, which it provides the best opportunity for the contract. Now we participate in that as a subject matter expert. I mean, no one knows the park better than us. No one knows what we want better than ourselves. So the last 2 weeks, it's been nonstop calls with that group, answering questions, explaining what our intent is.
The original solicitation included potential for infrastructure upgrades. Is that still, I would think that the park would be intimately involved?
The only substantive change, so I've been living and breathing this project since 2019. We've been very much involved in this. The only thing that changed on the resolicitation was the minimum wage requirement. We're still going to be requiring about $8.5 million in capital improvements, including restoring the Big Meadows Lodge, restoring the cabins of Lewis Mountain, renovating 6 employee dorms. There are 13 of them. We took 6 of the most high priority dormitories in the park and asked that they be renovated. It's also going to introduce emergency standby power at the lodge as well as at Skyline Lodge, expanding restroom capacity at Oklahoma Wayside and Off Mountain Wayside, and putting electrification in a section of the Matthews Arm Campground, since operation of campgrounds are also part of this. And that's a new direction for us. And when we casual look this, so part of the process is, in 2019, we did this condition assessment, and we determined that we'd be carrying into the next contract more than $4 million in deferred maintenance just in Big Meadows Lodge alone. And the only way to cure that and get that done right is to shut it down for a year and completely gut it from top to bottom and restore it. Lewis Mountain Cabins, those two need to be completely gutted and restored and brought back to premier condition. The only way to cash flow that was the revenue from the campgrounds. So we're still moving forward on that.
And all of that, obviously, will be phased in over the life of the contract.
What is the life of the contract?
It's a 15-year contract. That was determined to be the sweet spot. And hypothetically, if Delaware North gets the next contract, they're going to be boots on the ground on that. Even before it's awarded, getting design in place so they can knock it out as quickly as possible. Another operator needed a little bit of time to understand it, which is why we recognize first, Lewis Mountain's pretty cut and dry. We require that within the first 2 years of the contract. Year 3 is the lodge. We push the housing back year 5 in the contract so as to not provide too much disruption.
But you say you're going to renovate Big Meadows Lodge. Give us a feel for what's actually going to happen. What's going to change?
So the lodge itself was constructed in the 30s. It wasn't designed for the kitchen output that's occurring in it right now. So we're going to rehabilitate to the Secretary's standard, which is pretty specific on what we can and can't do. Substantively, nothing the visitor is going to see is going to change. Where there will be changes, there'll be positive changes. When you walk in the main lobby, there's an absolute need for preservation treatments on all of the Ormy chest stuff throughout the building. The kitchen, when I mentioned the food element of it, the kitchen needs to be completely overhauled. Back of the house type work. It needs to be rewired, plumbing needs to be updated, fire suppression needs to be updated. A lot of back of the house work. And doing that will extend it for another 50 to 100 years just on those projects alone. Under this current contract, Delaware North themselves, cumulatively between capital improvements and required projects, did about $6 million worth of work on that building. And that just got us where we needed to be. can't do that without significantly disrupting the visitor. And Delaware North didn't put that on those contract, they thought that building was gonna be operable every day of the operating season. This year, the next operator, they've been assured that they're gonna lose revenue from that building for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And that will then allow, the rest of it, to get to where we need it to be. Cumulatively, we're looking at $75 million of revenue back to the National Park Service with this contract, and any concessionaire coming in is looking at more than $500 million in revenue over the life of the contract. And we mentioned lodging tax with, augmenting police forces. With Greene Mountain, Greene County is an example. So the campgrounds at Lewis Mountain, that's going to shift to private sector. You're not collecting any lodging tax on that currently. Once that shifts to private sector, there'll be lodging tax revenue coming out of there. Albemarle County is going to be collecting. Albemarle
Oh, use
Yeah.
that, use that.
On which one will
Traffic
you,
control, you
your
would-
average will be collected?
Albemarle would be collecting on the Loft
Oh,
Mountain campground, and that worked out, rough numbers, about $75,000 a year just on that campground alone, just for tax revenue through Albemarle County. Page is already, collecting a significant amount just by way of Skyline and Big Meadows, and then the campground at Big Meadows is also gonna fold into that.
Matthews owns.
Page
owns more,
Page, yeah,
75,000 is what's brought in.
for
not
tax
just-
revenue for Albemarle County.
Oh, that will be taxed.
Collect, yes, based on your current tax structure
I'm
and our.
sorry, I'm thinking,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we will actually get 75,000, or that's what you guys, what that, Loft Mountain takes in?
Oh, no.
And we would do,
No, that 75,000 is based
Okay.
on the
yeah,
total number of campsites spread across the season and the average daily rate that they would be looking at. So roughly
Current tax rate.
75,000,
Rough
based on your
estimate.
current tax rate, rough estimate, that's
Okay.
75,000.
Are the camp rates gonna, what are they gonna be, like market price now?
They are gonna be market price, but considering what is provided up there, these are, I don't wanna say they're primitive, because primitive, that's a whole different avenue for this, but considering what we're looking at for pull-up camping, they're pretty basic. It's not like some of these other campgrounds where they provide a ton of amenities. Other than Matthews Arm, there's still not gonna be any hookups.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the burden will be on the concessionaire if they want to do additional improvements, and then they would have to come to us for further approval.
That kinda caps who's gonna,
What
who would go there.
what was that?
That's gonna cap the,
Well,
your.
stay pretty full.
your
They
population.
stay full, and it would not surprise me if any operator wants to introduce any sort of clamping component into it. That was, all the proposals the last go around included that. We get a lot of visitors that are flying in, so the opportunity for someone to have the tent already set up,
Yurts,
all the equipment. Well, but we also, we have an obligation, Big Meadows in particular, it's an historic, sections that are historic, we have an obligation to not dynamically change it. So we would work with the concessionaire to, find a reasonable middle ground. It's not gonna be, there's, under no scenario would you see a yurt explosion due out into those areas, but.
You can send them to the Yogi Bear.
Exactly. But what we would see happen more than likely is the opportunity, again, folks are traveling, you can rent camping equipment, and all of that is already set up when you get there. And that, I think, is gonna be a big component of it.
Are the reservations still gonna be done through, recreation.gov?
So
Or if it's privately, it'll be
Well,
some other.
we couldn't require it, but we could make it very compelling.
And that's where people logically are gonna go to.
And, it doesn't make sense for us to say, oh, this, backcountry camping is here, but you have to look for this on this website. Any operator is gonna wanna do, what makes sense for them. And the last go around, most of the operators, all the operators that submitted, were gonna be using the rec.gov platform.
I need to back up a little bit because of my incredible ability to take minutes. You said that you are, John, you said you are the community liaison to the, you are reaching out to the rest of, before we got into the whole discussion about the concessions, you talked about how you reach out to the area communities.
We're taking this, so there are 8 counties that are surrounding the park.
Yeah.
And depending which way how we consider what a gateway community is, that even really, that adds to that number as well, because we have organized cities in that on top of the we're doing a divide and conquer approach with personally going out and engaging. I'm the central point of contact for collecting all of who's going to the meetings, what we're talking about, and there's gonna be a reporting requirement that goes up. Additionally, we'll be distributing a common email address out, at least to centralize all of that, so we can get that.
We typically have somebody from the park each
Yes.
year come to
Yep.
the board of supervisors, and we've had that this year.
Yes.
So that's what you're talking
Yes.
about, is that effort.
That effort, in addition, there also, we may be meeting with the tourism, county tourism, because there was a guidance call yesterday about all of this. Travel and convention and visitors bureaus, different organizations, how we can benefit you and how you can help us out. More importantly, how we can help you is a big
So
driver.
that cross, marketing, if you will, our visitor centers do a lot of work for the park with your documentation, and people come in and hike this, where do I hike, how do I do? Is that kind of equal and opposite sort of thing gonna happen in your visitor centers? Are they gonna have our literature?
So the way I understood this, so this is very new, and they're rolling
Yeah.
the guidance out, almost to the effect of it's like drinking out of a fire hose with
Yeah.
the information
We've all
coming at
done
us. I interpreted some of it to be a choose your own adventure.
Okay, that's great, love the reference.
And I'm not particularly clear on, I don't think any of us were particularly clear on having a convention visitor bureau in our areas. I can find out about that, because it makes sense.
Sure.
One of the takeaways on it, that was discussed was, sending when they leave the park, when everybody's here after they saw the sunset, in 3 or 4 weeks, heading into the community, find a local restaurant, spend money in the community.
Well, I think we're uniquely positioned to help with the interpretation for the boundary assets.
Yes.
In our area.
Yes.
And there's more boundary asset than there is Skyline Drive, so I mean, it's a big part of the park.
Absolutely.
I think, anything is on the table, that's what we're told, it's not on the table.
Yes.
So I think,
Yes.
there's lots of examples that I can think of even before this, of parks that have had, or at least a couple that I know of, had joint visitor centers that are run by the county or the city and the park, owning, jointly owning a building. I don't know that we'll go that route here, but something could be done, I think, to facilitate more interaction.
And that's exactly what I was asking about the pass. I wanna make it as easy as possible to give them,
Right.
here's your package, go to the park, all you gotta do is show this pass. Not, oh, you're not paying cash, sorry, you gotta go stop at the gate and all that kind of stuff. It'd be nice to put all of that together for people.
Oh, by the way, from Swift Run, it's gonna take you 30 minutes to get something to eat, you might as well eat here.
And also,
Yeah.
since we're on the topic, as anything and everything on the table, because I asked about this before and it wasn't on the table. But what I think would be nice is to have a program where we could get some of our residents and encourage them to get on, and not to put Chuck Jackson here on the spot, but here's a guy who's lived here how long in the area?
68 years.
68 years, and you know when he went to the park? Once when his child was in first grade, and then the last meeting we had. So why is someone who's lived here for so long not visiting the park? How do we get our residents to be visiting the park? Because I think there's a big untapped potential to get people more engaged in the cool things around here.
The 5th graders should be going, right? Isn't that the free year or?
Fourth grade.
Yep, and we do see a lot.
Do you guys also reach out to the different Trout Unlimited chapters at all? Is that on your list?
They were very active in constructing the bridge. They were a partner, I believe, over at White Oak. I think they even provided some money with that. So again, this is, I like what Tracy said. I mean, it's kind of the options are there until we're told otherwise.
Yeah, our chief of resources would have most contact with those folks, and he has.
He's the one who lives in our camp.
Yes.
Who's the chief
And
of resources?
Children's.
Oh, yeah. But the
I know.
chief of resources is somebody besides Childress. He's who gave us the trout talk.
That would have been,
Oh, he is the.
Well, it's great, the partnership is wonderful, to have kind of a renewed emphasis is great. You're extremely well informed. Oh, as are you from your perspective. Yeah, but that's a lot of knowledge knocking around in there, so thank you.
It stops there. There's not much else. The monkeys are banging the cymbals.
Thank you, Tracy, Eric, and John, for coming out and being with our group tonight. Unless there are any other questions or.
I just had a few more
Yeah.
things I want to
Yeah,
share with you, but I'm not too many. But so today we just got, released the 2024 results for the economic impact for all the parks across the country. We issued a press release this afternoon. I just wanted to share those numbers with you. So for 2024, we had 1.7 million visitors to the park. We had 132 million that was spent in local communities around the park in that year. And that translates into 175 million worth of cumulative impact to the local economy when you're figuring in labor and lodging and restaurants and all that stuff. So a pretty significant impact that I think the park makes, as do most parks in their communities. So again, that just came out today. There's a website that's attached to that press release when you see it, that you can look at all the other sites if you're interested in that.
And Dave, I don't recall, how does that relate year for year? Is that on par with prior years?
I think it's up a little bit. I didn't actually go back and look at 23, but visitation is down slightly on 24 and 5. But it's about.
The numbers are about there. I looked at it recently, the numbers are about there.
A couple other things, just some projects we got going on you might be interested in. So Dickey Ridge Visitor Center, we're getting a new roof done on that building, and we'll be closing that building a little bit earlier this year for the season on November 3rd. So hopefully we'll have that roofing done in time to get it open for next season. It's been an ongoing process trying to get this contractor up there. It was supposed to be done back in the spring, and it was delayed. Old Rag parking lot, we have a contract that we're trying to get awarded, probably later this fall. They said we tried to get it by the end of fiscal year, but it looks like it's going to be extended to early next fiscal year. But to pave the main parking lot there that's having such erosion problems, and we're putting in a new, larger fee station for our staff, and then adding some additional toilet restrooms to that site as well.
It's a fee range in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. And that building that was there, we're moving to White Oak, so, and then we're looking potentially at leasing some extra space down there for parking at White Oak to improve visitor access. That's early in the process. We're looking at a couple of ideas for adding accessible trails to the park, working with our trust, our partner. We're trying to identify at least a site in every district of the park for over the next few years. The initial one we're probably working on is around Loft Mountain. We don't have a final route yet. We're looking at several options. We're going to get a resource specialist, probably an archaeologist, in to do the initial assessment of the routes we identify, so we'll have a compliance in place done, and then we can move along with construction pretty quickly once we get all that done.
How accessible? What would it be accessible to? Or who? I was talking to, and I bring this up, I'm putting a race on, in a local park in Albemarle, but I was talking to a disabled veteran. He says he gets around hiking wise with it's not motorized, but it's like a trike wheelchair, or a trike bike, but around where we live, there's no, I was trying to work with him, like, where could you even go? He went, well, nowhere. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a great resource, but.
So we have one trail in the park now, Limberlost Trail within there. So it's fully accessible. I think it's the crushed granite surface.
But like wide enough,
Yeah,
graded
so
and
3
all
foot
that.
wide and maybe accessible. So we're looking at that option for other sites. That trail is about a mile loop long, something like that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But one we're looking at Loft, there are a couple of options. One that would take you up to overlook the wilderness. It wouldn't get you in the wilderness, but it would be great views out to the wilderness. And then looking at some other sites, maybe with some waterfall access.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Got
great.
problems obviously with the terrain and trying to figure out slopes and all that to make it accessible, because most of our trails are straight.
Yeah, right,
Straight up, so,
even if you did switchbacks, that's not
yeah.
really accessible, or at least solo.
So I think right now, all options are on the table. I actually had a discussion I was in a meeting last week, and a woman whose son's in a wheelchair was talking about that surfacing, and she was telling me how it wasn't really fully accessible all the time, like it's supposed to be, just because it gets wet, it's a little hard. So we may be looking at other parks provide more opportunities for folks who can't get out right now. And again, the trust is working with us, to fund those projects. Minor things, so budget-wise, same as like with the shutdown, we don't know if we have a budget. We were doing some budget planning this week, though, based on the initial, things that were put forth from both the House and the Senate. Kind of when you met in the middle, it looked like it potentially could be a 5% reduction. We don't know, but we're planning for that potential scenario just in case. So with all of that, we're looking at staffing for the next year and what we can do. We did get our seasonal announcements have gone out as from regular schedule, which means we'll likely be able to rehire seasonal folks next year on time if things don't change. And like that this year that was a problem, it was all delayed. So next year that may be a little easier and quicker.
Is that the bulk of the employees
During the
summer
season?
season?
Yeah.
It's season.
And then we just have the other regular hiring freeze in place for all the other permanent staff. We can really only hire law enforcement and safety-related positions, wastewater treatment, stuff like that. So as Eric mentioned, we're trying to move forward with some LE positions, but everything else is on hold for now. That's good. I don't want to go over it. Yes, sir.
You mentioned press release. I didn't get that. I'm not getting any press releases since you laid off or retired all your press people.
I didn't lay off or retire anybody.
No.
Just to be on the record.
No. But I'm not getting any press releases.
Okay, if you give me your email, I'll make sure Ally adds it to
I'd appreciate it because I'm not getting a thing.
Well, I will say, we're not really issuing press releases since the administration changed. Everything really has to go through Washington now, and they've discouraged any local press releases for any issue. So you're not getting them because we haven't been putting them out. This one, though, in particular, they did allow parks to highlight the economic impacts locally, so that's why we were able to issue that release. And she just sent it this afternoon to me. I'm assuming it went out to everyone, but I'll double check.
It did go
Okay.
from Melissa Fox.
Yes. Okay, great.
So I have a question. Just so happens tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with somebody from our chapter, the Travel Unlimited. If they want to have a discussion with somebody, do I tell them to call Childress, Dr. Childress?
Yes.
Instead of
Yes,
John?
that's his.
I don't think John knows where the trout are, so.
No. Your water here is funny, it's fresh. We were all on the coast, there's no salt in it.
Okay, I don't know if I.
Your water scares me.
I don't know if I can find his information easily, but I suppose.
I don't think
Okay.
Any other questions?
And Evan was just at our board meeting, he said most of the trout are in Madison County.
Actually, Sugar Hollow.
Yeah.
Morgan's River.
All right, let's move on into new business, and the only things that we've got listed are, so we've got two outgoing members, so Christine from Rappahannock County couldn't be here tonight, but we've also got Jim, who is here, Jim, how long have you been serving on the committee?
Couple of decades, I guess.
Just a few.
Something like that.
So we just wanted to recognize Jim and Christine for all their work on the committee and time on here. And definitely don't be a stranger. You're welcome back anytime. I'm sure Bruce would be sure to bring some folks down the road.
Yep, we'll keep you posted on Jim's schedule.
And I guess moving into community updates. I guess does Albemarle want to start us off?
Well, I called up Ann Mallett today to see if there was any word on the Sugar Hollow parking lot. I think somebody's trying to stall for political reasons. I don't know. It's been several years now, and we still don't have any word on. We still, as far as we know, it's still back in the city's hands. With the request, I don't know what they're doing. Very frustrated on that. As far as what else is going on in Albemarle County, I guess the data center is the big thing that's in everybody's world these days, and it doesn't look like we're going to, we have a board of supervisors that is going to approve any by right data centers, which makes some people happy and some people unhappy, but, we're finally finishing our comprehensive plan that was supposed to be updated in 2020. We're getting close, so anyway, I don't really have much to put forward for not working. Same old, same old.
All right, I guess moving to Augusta, I guess we mentioned at the May meeting that they've got the Blue Ridge Heritage Project Memorial in place. I don't know,
Yes.
Bill, you have anything else you wanna add for them?
Well, we're still looking for money. Nonprofit, you know, I guess. Our focus has shifted from building the 8 monuments to more of an outreach kind of thing. I've been spending a lot of time going around to various groups and from all over the place, from communities adjacent to the park to farther out, basically talking about the history of the people who lived in the Blue Ridge before the park was created. There's a lot of interest in that. I'm sure there was some interest before, but I think it ties in nicely with the availability of Ancestry.com and other groups, other websites like that people are able to look up their family histories. And I think just today we had, probably 6 or 8 people join our Blue Ridge Heritage Project Facebook group. You have to submit I'd like to join your group, and we're trying to keep out the AI and all the hackers and everybody else that's trying to sell us something. And so I think there were 6 or 8 people. I know there were at least 6 people today that requested to join, and it just blows me away how interested people are. I got a email yesterday from a woman who is going to the University of Glasgow in Scotland and doing a project on the displacement of the people from Shenandoah National Park. And she was looking for some information related to that. So I don't know how it gets out there, but it is. So that's sort of where we're headed these days.
The interpretive information at the Augusta site, those 2 panels are really nice.
They are nice.
Is that something you developed? Is that a joint?
The committee, when the Blue Ridge Heritage Project got going, we didn't want this to be like central power and we tell you what to do. So what the board of directors did was facilitate in each county a committee, a local people, and they were responsible for basically just sort of deciding what the monument's going to look like. We gave them some parameters. We wanted it to be a stone chimney. We wanted it to have a plaque. We wanted the names on the plaque of the people who lost their homes and land within that county. And we were hoping to get an interpretive sign, at least one interpretive panel for the sort of giving the context for the chimney and the names and why it's important. And so we're going to be focusing on Rappahannock here pretty soon.
Well, I guess I'm selfishly saying, how do we copy what Augusta did?
What they did is they had committee members who were very into history. I don't know how involved they were with the local historical society, but I know that in some of the counties, the committee had members in Greene County, for example. We had members from the historical society on the committee, the Blue Ridge Heritage Committee, and they were into the research and they just dove into it head first and tossed it around and came out with I don't know if you've been over to our monument, but yeah,
that's great.
but it's old photographs are play really well, catches people's attention. But that's what we're trying to do is to make that monument be obviously specific to each county, so that the people from the county have something to latch onto and to be proud of, but also people who might go to several of our monuments won't see the same thing in each one. We'll give them I think we came up with whittled it down to about 450, 470 words, just the overview, and then whatever else comes after that with the photographs and all.
Sorry, all right, you're wrong.
And we're also looking to try to get Albemarle on board with that too.
When did Augustus go up?
It was dedicated in April of this year.
And is the park was going to, hire an archaeologist, did that happen?
Archivists.
Archivist?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we did?
I
Yes,
thought-
we
I
did.
thought it was an archaeologist.
We
I thought
both,
that-
both.
We're looking for that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking
We did
for-
not hire the archaeologist, although we got the trust to assist us in bringing someone on to work with us, hiring through them for a short term. The curator, the archivist, is, she's been on a month now, not very long.
Yeah, a couple.
Emily Childs.
Any other Greene County updates?
Yes, actually. On Sunday, we wrapped up our 10th annual Virginia Clay Festival. Very successful. I haven't seen the numbers yet of visitors. We keep trying to refine how we take the numbers and how we count the people that come in. In the past, we've had 3 entrances and only one was actually taking numbers. So we've been working on that. Still, it's never going to be perfectly accurate. But the rough numbers are there were about 1,500 visitors on Saturday and 1,000 or maybe a little under on Sunday. And I can't speak for the other artisans, but my wife and I host one of the artisans and her husband every year at our house, so they don't have to go out and get a hotel room. And she sold almost half of what she brought on Saturday. So it was big. People were walking out with lots of bags of stuff. So yeah, it's been a very successful event and something that I think is unique to Virginia. I don't think there is another clay festival. And another festival that seems to be unique to Virginia is the Black Bear Festival. We have our 3rd annual Black Bear Festival coming up the first Saturday in June 6th of next year. And we're going to continue to focus on outdoor activities and promoting Shenandoah National Park. The park was heavily involved last year. We also had the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club, Shenandoah National Park Trust, and the Shenandoah National Park Association, 3 of the 4 official partners to Shenandoah, and they all had booths. And it was a pretty, well, it started out being a little bit rainy, but it didn't last long, and it didn't seem to dampen anyone's spirits, and the rest of the day was beautiful. So we had another good weather day for that festival. And we're looking for ideas from communities around the park to involve other things, other activities. And then I think the big thing that we've got going right now is the regional visitor map. And Shenandoah used to have a budget to put out a map that was spread far and wide, and with budget cutbacks, that's not been happening as much. So what we have started at Greene County and have coordinated with the other 8 localities around the park, including Nelson, that we're collaborating on a regional map that features the communities as well as Shenandoah National Park. So when you open this up, there'll be the park with the communities outlined, and it'll have information not only about the park, but also about the local communities. So that's getting off the ground. We've got our first rough draft printing of that. We ran about 400 or 500 of those, and see how that goes. And there'll be another draft that'll be coming up with some revisions. And we want to feature what's available in the gateway communities, not only to draw people from the park outside the park spending money, but also to bring people from outside the park who may be staying like at Massanutten or somewhere else or in an Airbnb to come into the park. And so the goal ultimately is to have these maps in the visitor centers around the state and then even in the Mid-Atlantic region. So that's in the works.
And in the park.
And who's paying for that?
Well, each community is kicking in money because everybody's going to be represented. So I'm not involved in that project. I just have.
So that's the sort of thing, how do we get that in the visitor center in the park?
There's always got to be a mechanism to do something.
And then if there are certain, restrictions that, you know, the National Park Service, you know, can't have in that sort of publication, then we can have some feedback and make adjustments so that it could be placed.
Well, I had the initial discussion with, I can't remember his name.
Alan, yes.
Yes. And I thought we were supposed to review the draft, so, but you said it's already been printed out.
It had, well, it has been, we had a first run. Now, I don't know, you know how things go, sometimes you get overlooked or forgotten. You know, I can mention that down. I'll get it.
Because we would want to vet what's on there from the park, so.
Okay.
Make sure it's correct. And
So Greene County is initiating that, you're kind of the central.
Well, I won't say we are the nucleus. I think it came out of conversations with Josh and several other tourism directors, that this is something necessary and beneficial. So that's, I think that was the nucleus of it.
Yeah, I guess kind of along the lines of that, a lot of the tourism offices for all of our localities will get together once a year, and that was kind of an idea that came out of that group, and each of them sort of had interest in at least funding that first run, and then trying to pursue some Virginia tourism grant funding for a bigger run to help get those out a little further.
And as this gateway community information overload is coming at us, one of the brief things they touched on in the webinar yesterday was opportunities for financial assistance grants. They just barely touched on a lot of information on it, but there may, again, with 5% cuts, I'm quite not sure where it's coming from, but they did discuss working with communities in the financial assistance program as to how we can help with projects like this.
And this is sort of thing we can use our restricted tourism
Right, exactly.
tax, you know, transient oxygen tax money to help pay for these things, which it just needs the coordination.
Because it really gives the people who are coming to this area that are experienced, they can, it's easier for them to find out about all the fun stuff, because, you know, Phil did a great job on the high level stuff, but we got our Arts and Craft Festival next weekend on Saturday. On the 5th, our Historic Society is having an event where they have Monacan Indians coming in and talking about the history, right? All this stuff's right here in Stanardsville. We've got Tour de Greene, which is a charitable bike. It's not a race.
It's not a race, it's a
It's
fun
just
ride, but
it's
it's
just a fun
for
ride.
charity.
And it raises money for our Feeding Greens, so our food pantry. We've got Oktoberfest coming up here in Stanardsville on the 25th, right at peak season. So it's like, hey, you're leaving at sunset, why don't you, you know, like it just makes it more of a fun day, you know? Trunker, we have a powerlifting event that's coming up on November 15th, but what we're doing is trying to market, like, a lot of people will come from all over the state or something like that, and they're like, hey, while you're here, why don't you hit the park, you know, like, these are outdoorsy people, so there's a lot of opportunity, and the powerlifting, you know, like, my son's into the strongman stuff, they're like picking up a lot, like, it's not like weightlifting, they wanna pick up logs and circus dumbbells, like,
We can put them to one.
yeah,
Exactly.
I know. But it would actually be, you know, that's the kind of thing they wanna go do when they're not doing that event, you know, and their families are here. So they're dragging their families out, they wanna go see something cool, you know.
We have more than 300 guest rooms in the park, and that's a good opportunity to collaborate. Traditionally, weekend has that peak season, and then it kind of dies off going into November, and the only reason why we stay open in November is because it's tradition at Skyline for Thanksgiving. You know, so it's, you know, the weekends in November, it's, the reservations are kind of, you know, they use the attention.
And that would be perfect, because it's gonna be, you know, right here, and we have that entrance right there. And they're wanting to bring their families, we're talking with, you know, like Harley Davidson to do some maybe bike rides or something, like just to kind of get people interested in all the different really neat things that are here.
Organize a trailhead instead.
Yes.
We'll move into updates from Madison.
Well, as you know, Madison County is the only county out of 8 that does not have an entrance into the park, so we're not a gateway community. But we have 7 or 8 trailheads Old Rag being the most popular, White Oak Canyon, Cedar Run. So we still get.
We would consider that a gateway.
Absolutely.
Pretty sure.
It's a
We have several gateways, right?
The gated community.
So, I've been talking to the recent Economic Development Committee, how do we keep more of this money in Madison County? People spend money, Grays Mountain Lodge. So I want to mention Grays Mountain Lodge, first 3 weekends in October is their 56th Apple Festival. Right up the road is the Blue Ridge Heritage Memorial, and we have a mountain museum run by the Madison Historical Society, just open on Sundays. So this coming weekend, on Sunday, the children of Shenandoah are having a program there. There'll be a lot of food and crafts, and there are 4 authors coming. Christy Kendall, that wrote the book about These Hills Were Home. So I think that's kind of our trying to figure out a way to keep the tourist dollars, pick the pockets as they come through Madison County. So, and the only other thing that there are a couple of things. Hoover Ridge, Madison County owns 180 acres, and it's being developed into a Parks and Rec program. They're getting ready to put in a $1.6 million splash park. So I guess we're kind of a poor county, not having a lot of industry to support it. We don't have any large population centers, so we've got to depend on a lot of small things. So have mercy on us. But the one thing that I wanted to mention and find out from the other counties, in the past 2 weeks, we've been inundated with spotted lanternflies. Have you guys had that?
Oh, yeah.
So that's a concern to, one of the big money makers in the county are the vineyards and the breweries. So what's the favorite food of lanternflies are great for hops. So they're looking at some kind of troubling times coming up. And I want to mention one more thing. Our guest tonight, John Mike Powell, he's an attorney over in Madison. His daughter Katie is on the faculty down at Virginia Tech. Back in 2007, she wrote a book called The Anguish of Displacement. And in 2009, she wrote one called Answer It Once. It's letters from the mountain families from 1934 to 1938. If you ever get a chance to read those books, it really kind of open your eyes about what some of these mountain people went through. And why perhaps there's just a little tad of animosity still there among some of the citizens. That's all I've got, Josh.
Actually, I mean, if you can hear me, this is Judd from Madison, Board of Supervisors. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to add on to what was just said, I was wondering if the park had a naturalist that does, I know my niece is a naturalist in a national park up north, but they bring in wildlife that might have been injured, like hawks or things like that. Sorry, my grandson wants to say he loves the park too. So I didn't know, the Great Mountain Festival, since it is the 56th, they've been around for a long time. We attract people from all over the country to come to that every single year. And I don't know if you had somebody that could go to one of the weekends. It's 3 weekends in October, and to maybe do a little show for the people that show up for that. That would be really a great way for the park to be involved in Madison County. And the other last thing to mention is just the county board and the county administrator really would love to have the superintendent and not John. I mean, to come in and meet with our staff and with our citizens one month. We'd love to have you come in, and we'll buy you dinner and just introduce you to our group.
Sounds good. As far as the park naturalists, we don't have a program where we take live animals in, but we do have an education program with folks that can go into these different community events and set up a table and talk about, bring in pelts and things like that. But no naturalist. We're not collecting wildlife in the park and bringing it out. So
No.
But yeah, I contact contact me, and I'll put you in touch with our interpretive specialist and our education program coordinator, and we can
Great, how can I contact you, or is there a way to?
Share my email?
Yeah, it should be in the, I guess, Judd, it should be in the calendar
Oh, yeah,
invite
right.
from, yeah.
All right, great, well, thank you so much.
You know, what Madison brought up made me think, it's great to have a map that shows restaurants and towns and all that kind of stuff, but it would be great to have like one calendar, or a calendar we could all populate somehow. Because, speaking of, as someone who is busy and trying to find cool things to do with my kids on the weekend, we come out here, then we just drive around till we found stuff. Oh look, it looks like a festival over there, you know, or whatever. It'd be great to be able to plan that a little better. Because unless you know to go look at Graves Mountain, you know, like, that may not pop up for you when you're just looking at things to do. Or, I mean, Google AI is better than it was like 10 years ago when I was trying to do this with my kids, but,
I would agree, because, you know, just relocating here, like when we're looking, my family and I are looking for stuff to do on the weekends, like we'll look at Rockingham County newspaper has a calendar, but it's not comprehensive,
Right.
it's just like what's going on around there, but, you know, if you wanna see the whole area, the Shenandoah Valley and on both sides, yeah, that'd be great. I think, and you could put a QR code on your map, that people, when they've got that map, can just see the updated calendar.
Exactly.
And something in advance. I mean, I would have come to the Clay Festival had I known at least a few weeks in advance, but I didn't get the notice until like the week before, you know, and so I love the idea of a calendar that we can go to and say like, what's happening
And
in
it'd
this
be
month.
our responsibility to put our stuff, but I mean, look at this list of cool stuff that's going on here. That trunk or treat thing we do is huge, and I know there's not that many kids in Greene County, so they're coming from Madison and other places, just because it's such an easy, we have bands, we have, you know, like, food trucks, and it's not just the trunk or treat, it's a whole event with out here in our pavilion or whatever. So, sometimes, you know, like I find out from press or whatever that, hey, don't miss this, it's really fun. I'm like, oh, I don't know that I would have noticed it, because especially on Facebook, which I'm not a fan of, but you just get bombarded with so much junk, I can't find the cool stuff very easily.
You gotta rely on the government to show you the cool stuff.
That's right.
Judd actually reminded me of a question I was supposed to ask. When I called up Dan Malik today to find out what she wanted me to ask and tell. What's going on with the invasive plant situation? You only still have one invasive plant person, and how do you still have that person? What's the program like?
It's pretty slim, like all of our programs. Yeah, that's a seasonal position. So we did get a team in this year to do some limited work on some limited species, but it's not nearly what we would need to, you know, fight that problem in the park. So we're making incremental progress, but it's really, honestly, I don't think we're keeping up with any of it.
So you don't have, when you say seasonal, are they out now for the fall?
They'll be leaving in 3 or 4 weeks.
And you work with other groups? Are you working with prisons? Are you working with any of the other?
Evan oversees all that, so yeah, he's in touch with all the state agencies and other folks that are doing that work. We've had in the past regional teams that work on invasive plant management. I'm not sure those are gonna be around if they make any changes in the department, you know, again, it's all up in the air, who's gonna be left, so those programs may go away, I don't know.
One last thing on Madison. This past Sunday, we had, the Historical Society had part B, on 30th anniversary of the Madison flood of 1995. I videotaped it. It is on my website. I also put a link to the first part A, which was back in April, where the geologist that was in charge of and got his PhD out of it, he's a professor at JMU now, and he talked about the geology of the flood. This time was the county staff from 30 years ago came back and talked about how they handled the destruction and saving people, and we only had one death. There was only one death from that flood. Could have been a lot worse. And, it is on my website if you wanna go look at the videos. It's pretty intense.
What's your,
pjrnews.com.
Now, Chris, you're on Zoom. Do you have any updates for Page County? Guess we'll see if she jumps on, we'll get back to her, but we'll move on to Rappahannock.
Oh, well, the farm tour is this weekend. There's lovely, it's free, open for everyone, it's a self-guided tour. There are farm tour guides everywhere, the visitor center, lots of businesses. There's about 14 different vendors throughout the county. It's a great activity. Also, this Saturday is the John Jackson Piedmont Blues Festival. John Jackson is a great, was a great blues musician, and this festival started in 2019, and it's at Eldon Farms. It's an outdoor concert and another great event. In October, Headwaters will have their main, it's an educational nonprofit in Rappahannock. Headwaters will have their new fall fundraiser, a Monster Mash. It's a kid race on October 4th. Wakefield Country Day School is also having their Raptoberfest. And then Halloween in both the town of Little Washington and Sperryville, free, all the business participate.
Sperryville still call it Scaryville?
We call it Scaryville because it's scary. Then November, the first full weekend is the RAC Art Tour. Again, it's free, it's self-guided, you pick up a map, and they have an exhausting amount of galleries and artist studios. Many of the artist studios are only open this weekend. I think it's 60 venues. It's a really, really
It's an
special.
art tour, it's also a house tour.
Yes, that's also a lot of fun. And then coming in December, Christmas in Little Washington, the first weekend, the first Saturday in December, through the town of Washington. It's festival, parade, a lot of fun. And then also, because I volunteer with the trust, it's Art in the Park on this whole weekend. So that's up at Big Meadows, Wayside, and lots of different artists from surrounding communities and elsewhere will come and put on different demonstrations.
Did you say the second weekend in November for the artists?
The first full weekend.
First full weekend. So how does that work? Because Elmar has it on the second, the artisan tour on the second week in November. So do they get together
The
and
state
like-
used to have an artisan tour that imploded, and so I think it's now
Oh.
very haphazard throughout.
Okay,
So
so it's not coordinated.
No, so this is the 20th anniversary of RAC doing the art tour. It's always been the first full weekend in November. It's the first and second, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I guess you wouldn't want them all at the same time.
Right.
You could
No.
go to them, but I didn't know if they were staggered in some specific way each year, or if other counties tried not to overlap or anything.
Again, back to having a map, it's really hard to get people to let you know when their events are happening.
Yeah, so a map with an overlay of the events would be like super cool.
But we struggle to do this just in our own community.
Yeah.
So then trying to get 8 communities to, you know,
I mean, it's great in theory, but it's like
No,
pulling teeth.
I kind of picture like a place where everybody just puts their stuff on it, and then if you're like, which weekend should we pick? And then you can go look and see what's already there.
Yeah, it's opportunity, and
Yeah.
our Explore Rappahannock website has that opportunity for our businesses and whatnot, they can put stuff on that calendar. So something similar could certainly happen where the tourism contacts from each community have rights to go to.
You know, honestly, what would be great is our tourism group has a calendar,
if it just auto-populated all the time with stuff.
From the parks perspective, I think you're all aware that Kaiser Run Road is now hard surface to Little Double Stair trailhead parking area. It used to be a gravel road. That was a road that the board supervisors prioritized in their secondary road funds, so that's done.
I was just out there the other day and it was paved, I didn't know any different.
Yeah,
It was nice.
yeah, it wasn't for a long time, so,
I've been saying the progress on that.
yeah, good. Well, it's good to know that you've both been out there, so.
Yeah. I like that trail.
That's a wonderful trip.
I guess for Rockingham County, similar to all the other localities, we've got a laundry list of events coming up this fall with kind of the three main ones being Dayton Days Festival on October 4th, Massanutten Fall Festival on October 11th, and then Elkton Autumn Days, October 18th and 19th. And we've got a list of about 15 or 20 on a festivals guide, or fall festivals guide on our county Facebook page and tourism website. And then also another highlight for this fall, the Massanutten Mountain Coaster is finally supposed to open the end of October. They've sort of been opening for about 2 years now, so I think it's finally caught up where I think it's gonna be the only like monorail roller coaster in, I think in Virginia.
Just
is
by
what they
itself,
said.
or is it with a whole?
So it's kind of tied in with their family adventure park, so like the snow tubing and zip lining kind of starts and ends at the same location, so we'll see how that plays out once it opens. They had a special use permit for crossing over a road, and that's about the gist of what the county's involvement was. And I guess kind of piggybacking on what Bill was mentioning earlier, so also with the Blue Ridge Hills and Hollows, the tourism offices have received a grant from Virginia Tourism, so we're hoping to do kind of a PR press event sometime in 2026 to kind of kick off and promote that bike route kind of around what communities around the park and kind of help publicize that a little bit more. And I guess we'll end with Warren County. I think
It is off.
Yeah,
They just hired a new county administrator. It started September 11th. Brad Shaw.
Yes.
And the guys had a chance to meet him. I was at a meeting earlier today with him, so he's certainly drinking from that fire hose right now.
Yeah, he seemed very open. We had to get, for land acquisition, we were in contact with him, and it was, he seemed very, learning names and, like, get settled, and we'll get to meet you soon.
Well, I guess the only other thing we've got, setting the date and time and location for our next meeting.
Can I ask one more question before, going back to the whole tourism thing? Whatever happened to the hallowed ground route? You remember that from
Hallowed ground.
yes, it was a big thing, I don't know,
Jermaine
maybe it
from
was
Hallowed Ground.
8 years ago or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was going through many different counties.
Is that linked to
Is that the one that goes from Gettysburg to Monticello?
It seemed to have gone all the way through Albemarle County and south.
Yeah, it
So,
went, I
I
don't
thought
know
it went
that
through
further, so they
Greene.
might have. I think that I don't know this for sure. I know they were pretty big in promoting it. My suspicion is probably some of the grant money ran out. But I don't know that for sure. But it's still there. The signage is still out there on the roads, but you don't hear as much about it. I don't know what that is.
They're still paying their website domain, but the only events coming are for November 13th, October of 2021.
Oh, okay, all right, and that's how long ago it was. It seemed to me it was some coordinated thing. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so I went ahead and threw a date on here as a placeholder for May 20th, if that suits everyone. If not, we can definitely send out some options later on and kind of hammer down anything. Bruce?
So meeting location,
Yeah, that's another also topics.
May 20th is a Wednesday, so that's just different. Not that I have a problem with it, but
Maybe, yeah.
I'm looking at,
You
it
prefer
looks
Thursday?
like
Yeah.
Wednesday.
That's our normal
Yeah,
planning
usually
commission
it's
night.
usually it's that week.
Oh, that week, okay.
Yeah, we got 3 of them around
Thursday
here.
nights in the past.
Any feedback from anyone on location?
Madison would be glad to host, but I think you have to think what's most central to everybody, at least amount of travel time.
How are you guys coming, because we also have, our visitor center is this really nice big barn, and it's right off 29. And it's got bathrooms, it's got plenty of room and better vistas than you have from this building. It's an old bar building. It
Near
used
the
to have-
intersection of Ruckersville.
Yeah, it's right in Ruckersville in front of where the Lowe's and the Walmart are. So if that's how you're coming in, that might even be closer than coming into you guys are probably coming down from the park, but, it's like another 10 miles up, 10 minutes, 10 miles, up 33.
All over the place, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
I would think, Rockingham, Augusta, that
This is better, I would think.
this, I don't know, I mean, just,
Yeah.
we seem to be on this side or up at the park, and I don't know if that reduces participation from Paige. You're gonna be here.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
There's
sentenced
an
to
opportunity
at least a
to
year.
do Zoom there too.
Yeah.
I like it here for me personally, because I don't have to deal with 29 and 5 o'clock traffic.
That was
You
special
know,
today.
I mean, that's a fun thing to do, right, between 5 and 6.
Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and play it by ear as far as the May meeting, and I guess Kathy, Liz, and I can kind of pump out some information to folks on that as we get a little bit closer.
So is Greene, am I hearing Greene is the place, because I can reserve now a couple, so we have options. There's also, there's another place on 29 that has super fancy new, meeting space. The Villages of Terrace Green has a community center, and they let us use the room for free. And it's all marble and fancy and whatever,
That sounds
that's
like
a
our-
thing.
yeah.
But I definitely know I control this space and that other space.
Well, I guess, is there anything else for the betterment of the group? I guess we can go ahead and adjourn.
Thank you guys for coming. Next time I'll say, I was super disorganized this time.
Well, we gave you some